Sometimes when you're making a document in Word, you would like to add graphics to it. You might want to add pictures or clip art, something just to illustrate it. This is especially the case if you're making a newsletter or something that you want to send home to parents or to students. So let's see how we can add pictures and graphics to a Word document. First, you need to find a picture. Now let's say that you're looking for just an illustration of something. The best way to do this is to go to images.google.com, and that's going to help you find pictures. So you are going to do a newsletter around Thanksgiving for your class. So you want something to illustrate Thanksgiving, and you want clip art. Okay, instead of an actual picture, you want a drawing, something that'll look kind of cute. So we'll say that's clip art, Thanksgiving clip art. So now you see it pulls up a number of different things. One thing you want to be careful of, many of these images may be copyrighted. Google doesn't distinguish that. And so to be proper about this, you want to use images that are in the public domain, that are available for you to copy and to use. So in Google, click on Tools, Usage Rights. If you pull down Usage Rights, labeled for reuse. Now it shows you these pictures are things that are free for you to use without having to cite them or anything else. They're free for you to use. You notice in this case, Google has a lot of different options up here. If you want to specify some things, you can. But let's look here, and let's say that this first image here is what I want to use in my newsletter. So I click on it. Now notice one thing about this image when I click on it. See all these little tiny white and gray checks around it. What that means is that this picture only consists of the actual picture itself and not white space around it. That can be helpful for you. If you want something that just has plain white space, for example, if I click this, you notice it's white all the way around it, and so if I were to import that, it's going to come in as a square picture with white space. This one is going to come in just as the picture of the turkey with no white added to it on the edges. That's what I'm going to want. So I'm going to right-click on the picture, save it to my Downloads folder. On your computer there may be something that looks a little bit different, but the idea is you want to save that on your computer so that you can make use of it. Now let's go to our Word document here. I've got a fake Word document, and I want to insert that picture right here at the beginning of this paragraph. I go to the Insert menu, go to Pictures, and I want Picture from File. And so I get to my Downloads folder. Here is that picture that I just did. I click on it, click Insert, and it brings that picture in. Now notice this picture is pretty big, and I don't want it to take up the whole page like this. So I'm going to make it smaller. You want to be careful when you're sizing, when you're doing this with images in Word. And this is generally what you do with images anyway in other documents. Notice these little boxes at the corners. Those are the ones you want to drag. You want to click and drag that to make it smaller or larger. What that does is it keeps it proportional. So if I click and drag that, you notice I can make the whole picture, it gets smaller. Let me just show you what happens if you click on the side, for example. If I click on the side, you notice it just squashes the picture sideways. You might want that, but if you don't, you want to be sure that you're just clicking on the corner boxes, not on the sides. Top and bottom will do the same thing. If you click there, notice it stretches it. So if you don't want that, click these corner boxes, and that will keep the picture in the right proportion. Now, okay, I've got that, inserted it, I've sized it, but it may not be where I want it to be on the page. Now I can just click and drag that picture to where I want it to be. And it comes somewhat where I want it. But one thing that's helpful, if you go back up here and you notice there's this Picture Format tab, I'm going to click Position, and I'm just going to click here, position it in the middle center. That will automatically put it there. But that enables me then to move it around a little bit more to see exactly where I want it. I can also, there's this option here for wrapping text. That is, how does the text that I have wrap around the picture? You have several options. One is square. I've got a square picture, so it keeps it square. I can say in line with the text. That means it's going to be in line like that. It's going to keep it at the left edge. If I say I want it to be tight, and that's where, remember I said that there is no white space. This picture really doesn't have anything white around it. That's where if I make it tight, you notice these words now flow around the actual outline of the picture. If I move this around, you notice that the words move around, but you see that the words are in the blank space around the picture. You can also, if you wish, you can put the picture behind the text if you want the text to go across in front of the picture for some reason, or you can put the picture in front of the text so that actually the text is back there but the picture's hiding it. You probably wouldn't want that. But I'm going to just make this tight. Let's say. Alright, so now I've got my picture there. And one thing you want to be careful of here, notice that when I have this in the middle of the page, my text it splits across it. This is going to be very hard to read, not only for the fact that you don't understand Latin, but if you're trying to read this text, it's going to go across here, and then it jumps over here. And this is all one line. That gets very hard to read. So you generally are not going to want your pictures to split the text up like that. So actually you're going to want it to be, for example, over here at one edge. Notice I have it at the edge, and the text still wraps right around the picture, but now the text is all in a line. Or you could have it at the right edge so that the text again wraps around it, but you're not splitting the text. That's just a hint for you, but it's going to make it a whole lot easier to read if you're not having to, if your eye isn't having to jump back and forth across the picture to read the text. Now this was a clip art. Suppose I want to add a picture, a photograph. Maybe you've taken pictures of your class and you want to put one in a newsletter. You're going to do the same thing. You go to Insert, Pictures, Picture from File. In this case, I'm going to insert a picture of my granddaughter Anastasia just because I want to. And so I click that, I find the picture, I insert it, and there's the picture. Now it's also too big, so I'm going to make it smaller here. And I can do the same thing. I can position it different places around on the page. I can set the wrap to be tight or something like that so that I can put it. But again, you don't want the text to split across the picture. So you wouldn't want something like this, but I'm just showing you how it might work. Another thing you can do with these pictures, particularly if you've got a photograph like this, you can add borders to it. I click the picture, I go up here, and I have this little thing, Picture Effects. And one of them here kind of makes it look like it's a picture itself. It's got a little shadow, it's got a white border around it, so that So it just makes it look a little bit nicer. So you can play around with that. You can add different borders. You can do things like that with it. Now the last step that you ought to do, okay, before you save this file, especially with this photograph, this is a very large file. This picture is several megabytes large, and it's going to take up a lot of space. It's going to make it longer to print when you try to print this. So what you ought to do when you're done with your pictures, there's this little icon up here that has a picture with the little arrows pointing inward. That means compress pictures. What you're going to do here, click that, and you can make it, if you're going to just print this, you don't need anything really large because it's just wasted on a printer. So we'll say make it picture quality of print. If you're going to email it, it can be even smaller because for emails you don't want large files. Sometimes you can't send them. We're going to say print, apply it to all pictures in this file, and you don't see any difference. But this is a lot smaller file size now, and it will make it a lot easier as far as printing and saving and that type of thing. So that's how you insert clip art and pictures into your Word document.